I listen to all kinds of classical music and a vast variety of influences, and I think that's what maybe Yes's music is like. They draw from a lot of different influences, jazz, rock, R&B, everything, and we try and mold the whole thing into one kind of thing.
As you know, we have the two new members of the band, Benoit David and Oliver Wakeman, who of course is Rick's oldest son. And we've been through many changes throughout the years, and I explained to people many times this was not my design. It was more by default that I was always just left in the band, being the only member ever in it, and the other guys went to do solo careers, and he went to do solo careers. Then they would come back, and then we would have somebody new, and then somebody would go again and come back again. And so I've been there the whole time.
When the show starts, you don't know anything. You don't know really which way it's going to go. You know, you could have done all the right things. Everything's in place. The show started perfectly. The music went on, you walked on. But from that moment on, you have a testing period when you're tested the most to see, is this feeling right? Are they coming at you right? Is it kind of going to be all right? And that takes at least the first song to find out. So it's not like you just go on and you're in this utopia. You know, oh, I'm on stage, that's the greatest thing ever, great. No, not at all. It's nothing like that at all. It's actually, okay, this is the start of it. This is how it goes. We play the song. Now, is this going to be good? You know, are we going to? It's gathering confidence about that night. Yeah, that's nice. He did that great. Hey, that was really good. And so you gradually start clocking up success.
After John Anderson's health problem, you had to choose another singer.
Yeah.
How did you make a decision?
Not easy to make a decision, because as we know, it's impossible to replace John, you know. So one day a friend of mine who was at my apartment in London, he brought me to my computer and he said, I'll come and see this band on YouTube. And I said, okay, and I thought it was, yes, he was showing me. I said, oh, where did you get this from? He said, no, that's not you guys, because the band he showed me, the bass player was looking like me, and the guitarist looked like Steve, and and it wasn't the best focused picture. So I said, no, that's us. And he said, no, it's not. It's this band from Montreal called Close to the Edge, which, as you know, is the name of a Yes album.
And I was actually on the river, on a boat, fixing seats, and the phone rings, and it was Benoit David, Chris Squire speaking. So I almost fell in the water, but I was all right. So we talked for maybe half an hour or so. He told me that, he says, maybe you're aware that we're without a singer right now, and we're thinking maybe to check with you if you could, come and tour with us for a little while.
What I like most about Benoit is he has a passion for the music, and of course he was in a tribute band, so that's something he loved to do, and so it was easy for him to come in and join in, and it feel very comfortable for him and for us,
I was very surprised, but I have to say that for the past couple of weeks, a lot of people were kidding me around. Saying, hey, did you hear John Anderson went sick? Watch out if you don't get a call from London. So I thought, actually, at the first couple of minutes, I thought I was being pranked. I thought one of my buddies put on an English accent and, give me a call, just pretended to be Chris Squire. But there's only one Chris Squire, and it was him.
I learned a lot of musical theory when I was younger, and I was singing, in the church in some very good choirs, and so I learned the idea of the bass and the vocals at the top line, and the sopranos and the relationships. And so, when I became, 15 and the Beatles became famous, I decided to become a rock musician. Then I took some of that knowledge, I guess, and just brought it with me, and I just have combined my bass playing with the vocals and to make an interesting counterpoint, you know, in the music. I try to develop a tone which is, you know, in the low part of the bass where you also have the bright edge too, so it's deep, you know, as in the roundabout when I play, you know, that lick there, you hear the top note, the treble sound as well as the low. And then when I go up the neck to there, in the middle, the tone changes a little bit, and it becomes more round around there. And then as I go up to the high notes up here, I still have a very bassy sound, so it's not just thin sounding. So I set my controls on the here and on the amplifier, and you know, various things I've learned over the years how to make that possible.
With the arrival of Oliver and Benoit, young musicians, did the chemistry of the group change?
Well, it changed completely, yeah. You know, Yes has had so many changes over the years, we won't talk about it, but that's been part of the excitement too, is to see how the group can perpetuate, continue, rejuvenate, and lose. One of the worst things about a long group is the baggage, you know, the history, the old things that maybe weren't resolved. So when we get a point like this, then we've got two new people in more or less at the same time, and they have the opportunity to make quite an effect, because there's a lot of different energy, and also it has effect on Chris Allen and I, how we are alleviated with some of the baggage that exists with the whole of the history of the group. And we're just more concerned with placing this group now to be enjoyed and to be productive. And you know, if we can do that, then these guys will be happier too, you know, because obviously it's no good them giving up loads of their time and then it not really going in the right direction.
What made you decide to join Yes for this tour?
Well, I was originally asked by Steve Howe. He phoned me up and he said, it's just that your dad doesn't want to do the Yes tour, and you know, we sort of feel that we'd like to see if you wanted to do it. And so I thought about it, you know, for probably 5 to 10 seconds and said yes. The hardest thing when learning all this was the pure amount of material to learn in such a short period of time. And also the thing that was very interesting for me was a lot of people sort of say about learning Dad's material, but there's a lot of other keyboard players in Yeses whose material I perform as well. And it's really interesting for me because you're learning different musicians' style of playing, which is great, whereas Dad has very much a sort of, he plays in a very flowing sort of movement, whereas Tony Kaye does more of your sort of, he does a lot of sort of organ work, which is, Dad does organ work and a lot of Moog work. And then you've got Jeff Downes' sort of style of playing where he does a lot of chord. He's very rhythmic and very dynamic with his chord structures, the way he writes songs. Particularly, you can hear that when he goes into playing with Asia, and it's a very defined style. Plus there's little sections where I'm getting to put my own little bits of style in as well. So it's fascinating to learn the material.
So the more that we can direct the group to do the right things, to play the kind of songs that our audience want to. So Chris Allen and I bring a lot of all of the experience to it, and Benoit and Oliver bring you know, the new blood, the new enthusiasm, the new opportunity. That's a golden opportunity for both of them, which I think they'd agree with. And but there's still that interaction between us, them, and also the crew. When you're on tour, you're more conscious of having a crew. You know, when you're making a record, you hardly got a crew of people. But there's a lot of people that help to make the show as it is, you know, from the lights to the sound to the backline people and the production people. Roger Dean's stage concept. So all that kind of goes in, but certainly Oliver and Benoit are the most noticeable thing that's changed.
Chris Squire, you're the member, founder of the group Yes. How did it all start?
Well, back in 1968, I met John Anderson, and we were introduced by a mutual friend in a club that was next to the Marquee Club, which, as everyone knows, probably was the famous London rock venue. There was a bar next door that just musicians use sometimes, you know, called La Chasse Club, and I was introduced to John there, and we started talking about music and you know, who we liked and what we didn't like, and we realized we had some similar ideas, so we decided to go ahead and start writing some songs together. That developed very well, and that developed into Yes, basically.
Why the word Yes? Why choosing this name?
Well, I have to give the credit to Peter Banks, who was the original guitar player. It was his suggestion for a name. I think my name was World. I wanted to call the band World, but everybody liked Yes better. We thought, yes, this is a very positive idea, very definite word that you know, will help us, you know, to have good mentality for the band. And the blueprint for the band was because John and I were very much a lover of harmonies and good vocals. We wanted to have a band that had good singing, and we also wanted to have a band with good instrumental players as well. And that was how the idea behind Yes was, to try and have the best of both worlds, you know.
At the age of 6, I started to be a piano player, and my father was a pianist, and my grandfather was a pianist, and my grandmother was a singer in a choir, and so music was basically in my genes.
And from the piano to the drum, very quickly?
At the age of 12, my uncle was a drummer, and he said, "You're playing the piano very percussively," and he said, "Maybe you should buy this guy a set of drums." So him and my father bought me a set of drums.
And around 69, one day you receive a call from John Lennon. How did it happen, actually?
He called me, and I actually thought it was a friend of mine playing a joke on me. So I put the phone down, and then called back 10 minutes. He said, no, this is really me. I saw you playing in a club last night, and would you like to do a show? And at that time, I fell off my chair onto the floor. In my own mind, it was kind of like, I guess this is what happens to musicians. You become an instant star overnight. And it led to Live Peace in Toronto, and after that, we go back to England, and he wanted me to play on Instant Karma, and then Imagine. I played on Imagine, the whole thing.
What made you choose to join Yes?
Because I knew the band had a reputation, and Chris Squire said he would throw me out the window if I didn't join the band. And the reason why he did that, he saw me playing with Joe Cocker in London about 3 days before.
Oliver Wakeman, you were born with Yes.
Yeah, I think I get my first mention on the Fragile album. There was a little booklet, and on the back of it they each had a page where they described their thank yous and their instruments. And I think at the bottom of Dad's page it just said, "P.S. to one future offspring," and that was me. So I was kind of born after the album was finished. So yeah, so Fragile's older than I am.
An audience have something to bring to every concert, and you might say that some of them don't realise that. They just come and think that we're the ones, you know, the performers are the ones that do it all. But in fact, subconsciously, that they, you know, help a lot. They get involved. They have a sort of sound of their own. And by their anticipation or by their enjoyment of songs, then the concert will change.
Yes has had so many lineup changes throughout the years that in some ways it's almost like an evolving, moving band, that it could be one of the few bands that actually has the history where continuing on over generations might work.